Today we're reviewing this really cool Vanson Regent. It's a customized jacket that's available through my shop, and it's really not a jacket on its own. It is a jacket in contention with and tension with this Rainbow Country Hercules. So let's get to it. I think the half belt style is one of the most versatile, universal styles of jacket that a lot of people can wear in a lot of different circumstances with a lot of different types of clothes and wardrobes. And so I really love this style. And when I was looking through Vanson's catalog for a jacket that I could use as the base for a half belt made by Vanson, the infield just immediately stood out. It was the obvious choice. It felt to me like there was no other potential options. And that's really because the infield as a jacket really plays into Vanson's strengths as a maker of functional jackets. Putting it in contrast with the Rainbow Country Hercules is part of why it makes so much sense. And so if we think of the Rainbow Country Hercules, it is a slimmer fitting jacket. It's a bit of a refined style. It has smaller pockets and it has a lot of really kind of fine details. And those are just not the kinds of things that Vanson does. And so taking the infield as the base and saying this is a jacket that has a fuller fit, that has really functional design, including this action back, you know, that really kind of is made to be used. I mean, by Vanson, they're making the infield for people to ride it on motorcycles. And so this kind of legacy of something being made for use and not just being made for wear as one of the defining differences between the Rainbow Country brand and the Vanson brand as makers and what's in their kind of DNA as a maker. And so I think that the infield as a base and then now the Regent as the final product is intended to kind of lean into that. Those things that Vanson are really good at that distinguish it from the Rainbow Country Hercules and Rainbow Country in general as a maker. Just taking a quick look at the jackets worn side by side, I think really just showcases that. I think you could just look at them and you immediately intuit exactly what I'm talking about here. From the fit, from the robustness, from say the size of the biceps, to the size of the zippers, to the size of the pockets, to really so many of these little things about the jackets that are different that as just an observer, make the Rainbow Country jacket lean towards refinement and that like elevated attention to very focused, laser focused, detail focus that the Japanese Rainbow Country jacket has. And conversely, the Vanson jacket, which is robust, it's bigger, it has space for a bigger body and for arms to move in a different way. And it has these functional features like the action back and those big old zippers. So there it is. That's it in a nutshell. Just looking at the jackets really kind of showcases that difference that we were aiming for and that I think really we achieved here. Talking about the Regent as a jacket from a design standpoint, like what are the features? It has two hand warmer pockets. Now there's something interesting about these hand warmer pockets. They are leather lined. So the actual body of the jacket continues into this pocket here. And it is that Chrome Excel horsehide here. And it also has a leather front pocket. So these are really strong pockets. They're really robust pockets. It has a chest zip diagonal here. It has one inside pocket. It has an action back and the half belt beneath and the adjustment buckles on the side. It has an open cuff with this really kind of cool design, which I love. And that's the features of the jacket. Talking about the material on this particular version of the jacket, it's Chrome Excel horsehide. It's a leather that I think a lot of people are familiar with, but you could, if you're interested in kind of seeing more about how this leather develops, I have a video where I wore my C2 biker jacket every day for a month and then kind of showed how it developed in that time. It really kind of goes from like a smooth, blank canvas, in a way, black, to developing a sheen and getting all these little fine wrinkles and interesting wear in areas that will eventually, in those high wear areas, start to show Kind of a dusty wear to the brown underneath. You can kind of see that here on the cuff here, which is always one of the higher wear areas. Just a little bit of ghosting of the brown underneath here has started to show. So really robust leather. The weight of it is about 3 to 3.5 ounces. Chrome Excel comes in that range. Part of Vanson's job is matching all of the panels in reasonable ways with similar thickness leathers and all that kind of stuff. Talking about sizing on the Regent, this jacket is a 38 that you see on me. I'm 175 pounds, I'm 5'9", I have a 40.5 inch chest, and I think of 40 as my typical size. So this jacket runs really big as it's a 38 and it fits me like a typical 40. One note about the jacket is it is a kind of mid-length jacket. It does go past my belt. It doesn't get to the hips really. So it is in that kind of slightly longer style, especially as compared to the C2 or vintage and classic biker jackets, which typically have a much shorter back length. It does at this size, at this kind of standard trim fit size that I'm recommending just to go down one from your standard. It does have space for a comfortable layer in there. But it still does look good just with a shirt or t-shirt. So this is the kind of standard Goldilocks range that I would recommend that most people aim for. Some notes about the design. So we did make a lot of changes from the Enfield to get here to the Regent. And just to kind of run through them, and I might even miss one or two here because there were so many. We made the collar longer than the standard Enfield. We covered the front zipper. We moved this pocket up, which actually caused a problem. And this is something that's going to be changed in the final version that's actually available for sale on the site, which is the zipper is too big for the space. So it does fit there. They're able to attach the arm on. They have to redo actually a front panel and reduce the zipper size. We need to reduce it a little bit more, I think, for proportionality. There is a design difference here that is not necessarily a mistake, but just something that I decided I didn't want to keep in the final version, which is this mode has this, what's called a storm cuff. So a knit inside the cuff. The final version will just have that deleted. I think it's interesting, and I do think it prepares the jacket a little better for cold weather. But honestly, for my usage, if I'm just wearing a hoodie or a sweater or heavy flannel in there, it's gonna fill up the space and I'll be comfortable. Plus having the storm cuff, I find, kind of makes it harder to wear a watch, and it's a little, very slight drag of putting the jacket on or off, getting your sleeve through it. And one final big difference, which is the half belt. And one of the biggest changes, and something that Vanson doesn't do, and we had a whole discussion around what a half belt was, because the terminology wasn't a shared terminology. And it's really that the half belt that they made, I asked for a 13-inch half belt for my sample jacket. But when it went to the pattern maker, they're like, okay, we're gonna be doing a run of these jackets and our base size is a 42 at Vanson. And so 13-inch half belt on a 42, if we go through the template and resize it for a 38, yielded about an 11-inch half belt. But no, I wanted a 13-inch half belt on this 38. So having gotten several custom jackets made, not just at Vanson, but at multiple makers, this is exactly the kind of communication issue that can just arise. Multiple people on a team, someone says something they believe is clear, but a little something gets lost in translation. So anyways, the half belt on this jacket is too small. It is that 11-inch, I don't feel it's proportional to the size of the back. So the final version, it's would be essentially an inch wider on each side, or 2 inches wider overall, the half belt. It means that these side panels will be a little bit smaller and the back panel in the middle will be a little bit bigger, and the half belt, I believe, will be more proportionally sized for the jacket. So those are some funny changes that didn't quite work out. Other changes from the Enfield. So obviously the Enfield, just the cuff style is different here for the Enfield. Enfield just has a standard zip end cuff that Vanson does, and this is this more of a kind of vintage style cuff that you see on a lot of older jackets. It's also kind of interesting. It's the same cuff that you see on like the Rogue Territory Supply jacket, which is a really cool jacket. And just this kind of angled cuff here on the end. What other changes? Because I guarantee you I'm probably missing something here. Those are the major ones. So within the changes, we had some little communication things that the final version is slightly different from this jacket, but the overall gist is the same. And I really think we kind of nailed it. I'm really excited to see the final version come in. I have ordered those jackets with Vanson, and they're expected to come in hopefully by January. If we're lucky, it'll be early January. If we're unlucky, it might be as late as February. This is the kind of thing where I have no control over it, and Vanson just does their thing. They have to produce jackets that they're making, and we're in our line waiting our chance. Talking about value and cost. So this is another place of contrast between the Rainbow Country Hercules and this Regent that we designed. I was aiming to have a more approachably priced jacket as well. So depending on where you're buying it from, the Hercules can be as much as around $1,750 to $1,800, like if you're buying it through my shop this year. The Regent is significantly more approachably priced at $1,325. So that's one of the kind of fun and interesting things about working with Vanson on these designs, is making really cool jackets that, no, they're not in a budget or even under $1,000 range, but they are more affordably priced than, this kind of Japanese style. And I think that part of what makes it cool is I can choose really any leather, any material to make the jacket out of. So this Regent as a design, as a spot in the shop, basically, the goal is to have many different expressions and many different leathers. And part of what I'm doing right now is actually researching both some other interesting leathers other than Black Chrome XL in this kind of premium category where I have been focusing my time. But I am also looking at some less expensive options. I found a really cool waxy aniline leather that Hide House has for sale that is a pretty significant price drop. So I don't know, I really want this jacket, just like the C2, which I've done in multiple leathers, and I'm now doing with some others. The goal here is to have designs for the shop that I can then do various expressions of. To have variety and kind of a jacket at different price ranges and different materials that can appeal to different folks. Any questions about that process or anything about we went through the design or my thoughts on it? Hit me up. It has been fun working on this design. It has been an interesting learning experience about some of the communication stuff and about how zipper sizes work with the leather and the pockets, things that I'm learning. I'm not a jacket designer, and so kind of hopefully with every iteration we're going to learn a little bit and get a little bit better each time. So anything about those processes, hit me up, and hope you have an awesome day.